Hello and welcome, everyone. I'm Melissa Rebronja. I'm an integrative healing practitioner with my own private practice at healyourheart.love. I am also a host and an interviewer, and I'm excited for our guest today. Welcome, Isa.
Thank you.
Isa is a Living Your Design guide, a recovered lawyer, and permanent resident of Mexico. Is that all correct?
All accurate, yes.
Awesome. Well, welcome, Isa. And where are you calling in from today?
I am near La Paz, Mexico, a little bay called La Ventana.
Human design can really be intimidating. It's almost like a foreign language, and it's hard to understand it or where to go and get the information. So it's like, okay, you're this, but now what? So I had reached out to you. It feels like at the end of 2022, and received a body graph translation. And what I really loved is how you do your readings. So let's talk about that.
Okay.
So basically you do recordings, and that's great. Yeah. So I really enjoyed that. So it was like, okay, it arrived as an email, and then I opened it, and it's like visuals, combination with recordings. And I took my time to listen, and it was really thorough. And it was really, I liked the sound of your voice. I liked the clarity of your voice. And there was definitely interesting details that not that I missed, but just the way you said them, like landed in a more like understanding way. And I really appreciated that. So I was like, okay. And then I referred you for my own network, and you've already done, I don't know, a few of more, and everybody was very happy. So from the people that I've heard. So that's why you are here today, Isa Silver. Welcome.
Okay. Well, I feel very welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
You mentioned human design being like a foreign language, and it really is a language. And I call the thing I do a body graph translation, because when I look at the body graph now, where I'm at in my level of study, I could talk for 9 hours. I mean, I could just keep talking. So what is important for this person to hear? And Ra had a way of delivering readings that I still haven't heard one, but he used keynoting, and he was very concise and impacting. And he wasn't trying to speak to the person he was speaking to. He was just delivering the information in his way. And for me, that's really impossible to just deliver information, because I am looking at what I imagine to be a person, and I can't see what their conditioning has been, but I can see what their nature, their genetic wiring is. And so I can see these stories emerge, like, wow, that's going to be a big issue in that person's life, and okay, this person needs to understand this. So my translation is to distill all that information into, okay, well, what can a person use in 60 minutes of me talking to them? What can I give them that's useful and practical, and that will make them want to experiment more with the system, and also give them something that says, yeah, I could experiment with using my authority, and there must be something to this if it's that accurate, and the system is so accurate. So yeah, I deliver the audio recordings because I'm still not ready to interact in real time with people about this topic. It's a mental and kind of artistic process for me to just look at a graph. I draw it out by hand, and I just work with it for a couple of days, and I just let my mind reveal things. And then at a certain point, maybe like recording a song, like in your background, okay, I'm going into the studio this afternoon, like the song has come together, and that's what comes out one day.
Yeah,
I never know.
I love it. And I will say, so people that received their training from the International Human Design School are the ones who seem most knowledgeable in my experience.
Go figure. It's 3 full years of schooling to become an analyst. And, I went to law school, and I've been to a lot of different schools, and it's school. There's a lot to learn.
Yeah. So you are a Living Your Design guide.
Yes.
So tell me what that means.
That means that I completed the foundation courses from the school, which is Living Your Design, and then Rave ABCs, and then Rave Cartography. And then with the school also, I did a training to be a guide. So prerequisite courses done, and then I said, okay, I want to be a guide. And that is a professional designation from the IHDS. So I can sell Living Your Design, and I can say I'm a guide.
Awesome. Awesome.
I'm 2 more years of school necessary to become an analyst, and I'm in the first semester of that professional training right now.
Awesome. Awesome. Perfect. So how did you come into human design? How did you discover it?
No choice. Just, well, what literally happened, it was a 6'2" manifestor in Costa Rica, and he had given me some healing advice. I had a major gut problem and body work. He did great body work on me, and I felt really, and he sold a course that happened to be the week of my birthday in Costa Rica in 2016. And the course was about giving touch to people, like, friendly massage. And within that week, he also shared human design as a tool that you might use in your bodywork practice or with whoever. And ayahuasca was part of the deal too. So this one week I met these 3 major parts. Well, I wouldn't say ayahuasca is a big part of my life, but big changes in that one week. And there it was. Solar return 2016.
Awesome. So let's talk about what it means to enter the experiment.
Yeah. The person who introduced me to it didn't tell me it was an experiment. He didn't tell me some really big things like, what does it mean to be open sacral versus defined sacral? I mean, like really big things I didn't get. But I came to learn later that the experiment is something that is an attitude towards human design that Ra put out there from the beginning. Because from the beginning, he said, do not believe this. Don't believe this. You don't have to believe this. There's nothing to believe. I'm just going to give you this information. I'm going to tell you about the system. I'll give you this reading that reveals to you that I know more about you than your mother. And
right.
and then you go experiment with it. Okay, because the experiment is, what happens if I stop making decisions with my mind? What if the experiment is, what if I use my inner authority to make the decisions, and until then I use my strategy? And all the other types except us manifestors have a strategy, And so what if I just live my day to day with strategy and authority? What happens? That's the experiment. And
thank you. Yeah. So if we had people listening to this who are literally brand new to human design, how would you describe to them what this is?
I would say it's a system that shows an energetic blueprint. It shows your genetic wiring, and it shows your areas of potential conditioning. And it shows how your energetic body moves through the world, your aura type. And so, yeah, it's a blueprint that shows the structure of your boat and the systems within your boat.
Yes. And it's based on your birthday birthday, time and place.
Yes. And that birth date, that minute of your birth gives one of the genetic imprintings that is used in the system, but human design is just completely different than astrology, in that it uses also an imprinting on your body's consciousness that happened before you were born. And the experience of being human is the quantum of your conscious design, your conscious personality, and your unconscious design.
Right. So where does human design come from?
That's an interesting question. Where does it come from? It comes from the mouth of a messenger that received this information during an experience in 1987. And so some people say it comes from the design crystal bundle that's in the earth. But I can't say that from my own knowledge, but I can say that I have seen the vastness of the system of Ra's work over the 25 years or so. And so it's really clear that there was all this knowledge, all this information in him, and that all that he could do was try to get it out, into a system. He wasn't given a system, he was given information about how everything works about life,
Yeah,
actually.
it was like a channeling, and it took like 8 days and 8 nights.
Yeah, you could call it that. Yeah. So he was downloaded, and then he tried to structure it in different courses and ways for people to understand it. And we're still grappling with the fact that he didn't get to like finish that job per se, or maybe, he was just here to give that level of it. And then we're all wrestling with it.
Yeah, he was a Canadian from Montreal, and he moved to the island of Ibiza. Is that how you say it properly?
It depends on where you're from. I say Ibiza.
Ibiza, yeah.
All kinds of people. Depends on what language you're speaking. But yeah, I don't know if we've mentioned his name is Ra Urahu, but yeah, he was a white guy from Canada, and he had some crazy times and did lots of irresponsible things, and then did a lot of drugs, and had a lot of wild experiences. And then one day he had the most wild experience, and that's what we're talking about. But you and I have lived it enough and we've shared it with enough people to see that. But as a system, it's you can see that it's revealing real mechanical things about people.
Right. And actually, so something that I forgot to share, which is kind of fun, is that how human design came into my life in 2015 is I was dating somebody who texted me and then just asked for my birthday. And I was like, okay, March 7th, or, I know the time. And then later I found out that he was getting a reading from somebody, and I was like one of the 3 women that he was dating or whatever. And the reader said, "This woman is your best match," which was me. And that is
human
now
design
my
helped
husband.
you get picked. You know what? I kind of didn't put that together about the other people. So actually you got matched by your
It was just the confirmation. I think it was just according to human design, she's your best match, right? The other 2 were projectors, and he's a generator. So it was just kind of funny that, okay, human design was on our side, and number at that time.
Okay.
And so I could say my now husband introduced me to human design. Yeah, so it's kind of fun.
Did you initiate the marriage?
Well, here's the funny thing about that. So for those of you that may not know, so Isa and I are both manifestors, and according to human design, there's a right way to enter into relationships. So as manifestors, we are meant to initiate. So I did, once I found that out, I went back to sort of look at that, and it's like, oh, did I enter into this relationship correctly? So even though I'm a manifestor, I consider myself a feminine energy body, meaning I want to be asked out. However, I see that there's ways that I did initiate things. So for example, I met my husband on a hike. We exchanged information. I don't remember who added who on Facebook. It might have been me, because we both had our cards, because I used to do that. I was very good. Okay, adding a new person that I met, and then didn't see each other for 8 months. Saw each other again on a hike, and then we connected a little more. And then I connected a little more because when I first met him, I didn't really connect very much. I was like, he wasn't really real, but now he was more real. And then I said, can I interview you? Because at that time I had these 2 YouTube channels. One was Music Dreams TV, and the other one was EMAR Evolve Talk. So he said, sure. So I initiated, like, I want to interview you. So that's me initiating. He said yes. I showed up. I did the interview. It was great. And then he sort of said I should invite you over for dinner. And then he invited me for a New Year's Eve party. So I think that initiation, but it was him, like later, it was him asking me to be exclusive, which worked well for me. And I took 2 weeks to respond. And like he still mentions that sometimes, you took 2 weeks, but I have emotional authority, right? And I had to kind of clear some, to kind of to absorb that. And then I was a yes. So that's how I entered into the relationship. And, it feels right. And I look back at a projector that I dated. We moved in together fairly quickly, but it was me that asked, kind of like, oh, it makes sense. Like, are you open? Would you be open to moving? And he thought of, he said yes, and that was correct. Yeah. Okay. So how can human design help someone?
It helps you trust yourself and trust that you can be okay, even though you're different than everybody else. Maybe better put, maybe this more simple way to say it is that it reduces resistance. When you understand that you have a certain kind of energy type and it moves in the world a certain way, and you start moving within that, then you don't bump into things the way you used to. And if you're a projector and you've been initiating all your life and you're bitter as heck because nobody's been respecting you, and then you stop initiating and let the invitations come, you've saved so much energy, and you're not meeting resistance by being the initiator when you're not designed to initiate. So there's an example. Yeah, that's one way. Reducing resistance, increasing respect for yourself and the other based on uncontrollable differences is another way to say it.
Yeah. And what are the 4 types?
Well, us, the manifestor, 9% of the population. The smaller minority is the reflector type, about 1.5%. The projectors are about 20%, and the generators, including the manifesting generators, is about 70%.
Yeah. And would you like to just share the differences between them for people that are new?
Sure. Well, the life force of the planet is the generators, okay? And so they are here to respond to life and make life happen and build the world and set the frequency for all the rest of the planet. So they have the energy in their body that they need to respond to life that correctly. But we have a lot of conditioning in our cultures that say that people should make decisions with their mind and do things based on their mind. So their frustration, that vibe that we feel of the frustrated human, is mostly generators that are doing things instead of from their body's response and their body's involvement. They're doing things from their mind because they think they are supposed to do something because their traditions, their family, their school told them that. So the generator type is here to be satisfied with what they do. And that satisfaction is a gift for the world. Generators are not here to necessarily know how to use their own energy very efficiently. And that's where the projector comes into place. The projector is really the proof of the human design system. They didn't exist before 1781. And the genetic mutation that really advanced humans significantly in 1781 created this type we call the projector. And they are not here to do the satisfying work, but they are here to see how the energy flows and how the systems work and how intellectual and energetic systems can be used most efficiently. And so they're the guiders. They see things in other people. They're about the other. And so that's that type. The manifestor type, what can I say about us? We are not here to respond to life, and we're not here to guide other people. We're here to do things that haven't been done before. And we're here to do things that are only from us and from our inner authority. And so much of what manifestors understand is that they're angry because, well, they don't know why they're angry exactly, but they are. And manifestors are wired to be angry when they're not following their own authority and trying to follow somebody else's program. And so we're the hardest type to get to know in a way, because we're designed with this kind of dense energy field around us that kind of keeps other people out and makes people kind of mysterious about us. But we can get things done, but we don't have replenishable energy like the generators. So a lot of us get tricked into thinking that we're super performers, like super generators, but we're not. So there's that type. And then the reflector is just this completely different kind of human. It's like the most potentially, well, literally the most open kind of human.
Yeah, so there's 4 types. And so the generators are split into manifesting generators and pure generators. Yeah. I find that sometimes people, when they first hear their human design type, they get confused because they hear the manifesting generator and they think that they're a manifestor, and so it takes time to kind of really understand like that it's generators or pure generators or manifesting generators, and that's a type, and then the other three. Yeah.
I see the reason for the confusion because manifesting generators can have a channel that would make a manifestor. You have the 35, 36, for example, and an MG could have that, but they have a defined sacral. And the thing is that a defined sacral is a life force vessel. It is what it is, and it might have these other elements to it, but it's still its renewable energy is in response to life. And us open sacrals are not energy producers. We're parasites in the energetic field.
In one of your videos that I watched, you had this beautiful analogy of like your boat.
Yeah, so I got into learning sailing around 2010. So I don't have a super deep history, but I have some real miles. And sailboats are these mechanical things. The hull has a shape, and it might be like a little skinny canoe, or it might be like this big thing, and you might have like a big sail, or you might just have a paddle. So anyway, they're all boats, right? But the way that a canoe moves in the water and the way that like a big boat moves in the water are completely different. So I can describe auras that way too. Like the manifestor aura, this made me cry one day. It's like a barge in a small harbor. So anywhere that boat moves, it's going to move water and it's going to affect people. Okay. It doesn't sound very feminine, but it's just a mechanic, and people notice it. And sometimes people are like, wow, look at that manifestor move people. And other people are like, look at that manifestor moving people, but just to understand, okay, when I'm in a room, I'm going to have a bigger impact on people and I can notice it. That's what human design's helped me with. In contrast, like an emotional projector, say with one channel, they might be like a carbon fiber kayak, like so fragile in certain ways, but yet so perfectly designed to do what they do and move and glide in a certain way, but you would never take it out in a big storm, and so if people can respect their own energy system and like, hey, I'm a carbon fiber kayak, I don't have to go out in the storm and prove stuff. But on those sunny days, or, when the conditions are right, that kayak performs perfectly for what that kayak was designed to do. But if that projector tries to be like the barge and go out in the big storm and prove herself, she's going to get beat up and maybe broken. So it's a respect for the form physically, like at the cellular level, but also at the more metaphorical level of how we move related to other people.
And then there's generators.
Yeah, so generators are open, and all life is coming to them. Generators don't have to go out and get life. Life is coming to them.
You're hearing the engine, and it's like something that's like a solar, like you're never going to run out, like maybe like when there's nighttime or something,
Well, yeah, that's nice that you mentioned that, because the sacral center is like, it is a motor. It actually really is. And it really has a vibration and a frequency to it. And when it's humming, right, you're like, it's humming. But when it's not humming, when it's confused, when it's frustrated, it doesn't sound so good. And so, I would say the generator like has a motor, has a sail, has a lot of different ways of moving. And I would say the ocean is designed for the generator.
Yeah. And that includes the MGs. And what about reflectors?
Oh, they're just, they can go anywhere, depends on what happens, they have energy like generators some days, and other days they don't.
They're like the yacht.
Interesting. I'm trying to I had to be honest, like maybe an inflatable kayak, because they can just be like, they can just,
and there's that.
But actually, as an aura type, they're most comparable to the manifestor but they're not a big barge. They're not the big aura that pushes. They don't push, but they have what they call the Teflon aura. So everything slides past them. They're like the most watertight. Let's say that.
And you're a Living Your Design guide. So you give body graph translations, right?
Yep. Yep, I do that. I teach living your design. I mean, money comes to me in all kinds of unusual ways. You know, when I was a lawyer, I was pegged to one kind of income stream. And since I left law and the United States, I've made money through body work and through working on boats and taking care of animals. And, but basically now it's really mostly just with my mind. It's communicating with people about human design.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Great. So you're a recovered lawyer. Anything you want to say about that?
um, let me be clear, it's not recovered like I was an alcoholic lawyer, although I drank more alcohol in my life than ever when I was a lawyer, because it really was part of the culture. It was a tremendous amount of conditioning. It was a big part of my identity for a long time. And sometimes I still go like, oh, I miss thinking that I had an identity, but I'm an open G person. So my identity is not here to be fixed and consistent. I'm really glad for the education, and I got to really understand the United States of America and other, like, so many systems because of learning the law. And yeah, it was a really good experience in a lot of ways. But what would happen is that I would end up in a position, say, like maybe I'm in a divorce situation, and the spouses are arguing about money, and who has the kids win. And I could see so clearly that so much of what was happening, what they were spending money on, didn't have anything to do with getting to the final destination of the solution, which is they need to separate their money and decide when the kids go where,
Yeah.
But and so I would get really, I would get involved on an emotional level, on a human level, like I want it to work out, but I couldn't help them with themselves, and I couldn't help them. Like I wasn't a psychologist. They weren't seeing me
Right.
as a counselor, but some of
Right.
them would take to me like I was a counselor.
Right. Yeah.
And so what I see now, because I can see the body graph, I'm like, wow, we had no information to decide where the children should go or who should get so much money, because we didn't actually know who could make more money, and why money was being made in the family. And this manifestor child needs different attention than this generator child. And so now I see all of these things about humans that could be applied in all of
Yeah.
those conflicts, but I just can't do the conflict of being a lawyer. I
Right.
just
Yeah.
Peace, I'm here for peace, you're here for peace. If
Yeah.
we have peace, we're okay. That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
as good as it gets. We're not here to be satisfied, we're not here to be successful, we're here to be
Yes.
peaceful. And
Yeah. And this is referring to manifestor type.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you. And you're a permanent resident of Mexico. Why did you leave the good old USA?
Because it didn't look like a place that I wanted to be in the future. Going so great, I was in a really good position. I was literally bored after being divorced for a few years, and a sailboat and all these kinds of things where everything was good, but I was like, I think this isn't really my place. I think
When did you leave?
late 2015.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. And I didn't expect to get residency in Mexico. I never thought Mexico was a destination, but I had connections here starting in 2001. And I just kept ending up back here for different reasons. And then last summer, there was a great little opportunity to get the residency. And I said, I think that's for me. And it happened.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah, thanks. It's nice to have options. I mean, I still have an American passport. I'm not going to give that up per se, but yeah, it's nice to have options.
Body graph translations with Isa Silver, I highly recommend to anyone. So check that out on your website. That's correct?
Yeah, it's there.
And what is your website?
Oh, it's so simple now. It's great. It's isasilver.me.
Perfect.
That's it. isasilver.me.
Yeah. Anything else that you'd like to share about yourself and your offerings?
Well, I guess I could point out that I'm not a sharer. I don't have any wiring for sharing. Like you have one of your manifestor channels is about sharing, but my channels are about empowerment and support. And I have two channels that are individual channels. They're about empowerment. Things come out of me that are unique, that haven't existed before, and sometimes that's really strange for people.
Yeah.
And other times it's really cool for them and exciting, but I don't control that per se, like it comes out. So yeah, support and empowerment, that's what I offer through human design, through being me, through translating and delivering what I see in a body graph to a person, and I'm thinking of the person while I'm delivering it. I'm like, this person needs to hear this.
I've experienced that. Absolutely. You do that. Yeah.
You know, I'm looking forward to getting it more poetic. You know, I deliver it in a mechanical and compassionate way, I think.
Yeah, you do.
And the next level of it is delivering it as an epic poem. Yeah.
Beautiful.
But that's a few more years of my mind really like being soaked in the language, you know, like really being immersed in it. And but I like offering it to people because it's practical, and I know I can do practical details and logical details for people, and I can empower them, and I'm available for some kind of support too. I've got some tribalness in me too.
So there's people can book a body graph translation. There's also one-on-one work, and there's also the longer courses, one of which is Living Your Design.
Yeah. And let me mention that the one regarding the body graph translations I do for individuals, but then I can also do partners, parent, child, you know, spouses, you know, the ex-girlfriend that is still driving you crazy. You know, do you want like a post-mortem on why the relationship went that way? You know, like I can help with that. Or similarly, are you pretty sure that you need to break up, but you're not quite sure to do it? You know, like I could look at 2 charts and say, hey, this is what I'm seeing. You know, this would be the good way to break up. Or I might be able to say something like, hey, but do you know this person is wired for this and that's never going to change? Can you accept that in the relationship? Okay, well then, you know, maybe you're not going towards a breakup. But so different kinds of translations like that. But yeah, the LYD is the longer term thing. The Living Your Design is for people who want to know the system for themselves.
Yeah.
Because it is a system. It's kind of like you could always go sailing on somebody else's boat. You could just be that person that gets invited to go sailing. And you could even talk about sailing because you've been on the boat and you've been able to talk about it. But it doesn't mean you understand how the boat works.
Yeah.
And so the LYD is really like understanding, okay, there are boats that are made this way and there are boats that are made that way. And so I should never expect that other person to be able to do that. That's really, yeah, like I would never sail that boat in those conditions, you know, those kinds of things. So one of the things about LYD that's empowering is that it's a certain amount of information that is mechanical and logically presented. And then you don't have to consume secondary human design anymore. You know, there's so many people that are selling human design this and human design that, but they don't have any basis in the mechanics either. They never learned to sail their own boat.
Yes.
They never had to learn what happens if you know, you don't know certain things. So with a Living Your Design course, it's not very expensive. You have all the information you need to understand everybody else's design, to understand basics about everybody else's chart, and then to understand why, as an emotional projector, you would wait, and why the invitation is important, and what recognition really is. So yeah, LYD is for people who want to be self-empowered with human design.
I love that. And I haven't taken that, and I'm very interested. I learned from you actually that that's something that one can do. I mean, for some reason, I just didn't hear about it, didn't come my way. About that being a deeper journey, right? Like, okay, so I'm definitely interested. So thank you for sharing about that. And I'm excited about your offerings.
Cool. Appreciate that. Oh.
Any last words, Isa?
Love yourself. Do you love yourself? I didn't love myself before I met human design. And I'm not 100% certain it's all human design, or like how could I've gotten there differently. But I used to cry when people would say things like self-love. Like, don't you love yourself enough? And I'd be like crying, running out of the room. And because I can see now in my body graph, I can see these strengths, I can see these weaknesses, I can see, okay, you had that experience and you were going to have that experience and you didn't do anything wrong because you're designed to have that kind of experience. I can just accept that I am who I am, and enjoy watching me being me. And I'm not trying to be anyone else now. I'm not trying to improve myself anymore. I am not trying to be better. I'm just trying to make sure that shit from that isn't me, isn't part of my decision making, isn't part of my thinking. And so it's like, wow, there's only one Isa. I better love her. I can't count on anybody else, for real. Yeah. Really only. So that kind of self-love, like I can, it's just like this resource inside me now. And
Beautiful.
I can share from that. I can empower from that.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that piece, Isa. It's beautiful. I feel that. And it's like a self-love and acceptance of who you are as you are through human design.
Yeah, it is. It allows a self-love through understanding yourself and through understanding the differences of others. And so things just get easier with that.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being with us today.
Yeah,
for this
you're welcome.
interview. And I look forward.
Thank you for being your lovely self. It's been very pleasant to see you in the middle of a Monet painting.
Well, thank you. Awesome. Thank you. Thank you for watching.
All right.
Yeah.
Ciao, ciao.
Ciao for now.